Okay, today we are going to dyno Andy Roby's truck. We just finished up the compounds on a couple weeks ago. We've done some street tests. We have not turned it all the way up on the street yet because we don't know what the breaking point is of the 2019 engines yet. They have a new block, they have different rods, bigger wrist pins, but they also have 19:1 compression, which helps with spool up and drivability, but it kind of works against us when we have a lot of boost and a lot of air volume going in the cylinder. That makes it easier to blow a head gasket or bend a rod or something like that. So he's been kind of driving around on tune 3 and 4 and deciding what he wants to do, if he wants to build the motor first or what he wants to do. But today he woke up and had a fresh frame of mind and he said, "Lavon, go dyno my truck and see what kind of power it makes and let's see what this engine's actually made of." So this is 100% over Exergy injectors and a Exergy 10 mil CP4. And this is a reminder that the 10 mil CP4 on the 2019-2020 trucks is 50% overdriven. So the 10 mil pump is capable of more because it is spinning faster at a lower RPM. And also the injectors have less return rate than previous 6.7s. So that 10 mil pump and 100% injectors, we think on paper it should have enough fuel quantity to do close to 1,200 horsepower. We did 1,043 horsepower with this setup with a single S472, and he had called it quits because he didn't want to take any chances of breaking an engine. So now we have more air and we can turn up the fuel the rest of the way. We're going to see what this setup is actually capable of making. So the first step is we're going to dyno it just the way it was with the same fuel quantity that's in it to see what the compounds gained us, because on the street it definitely drives a lot better, pulls harder, but we got to see what the dyno actually says, and then we can reflash it, increase fuel quantity, max out the fuel system, and see if the engine can take the beating we're going to give it. Okay, we did 1,156 horsepower and 1,656 foot-pounds of torque. What do you think about that?
My hand
anyway, it didn't break. So the question is, do we turn it up and see if it breaks, or do we just park it and say it's good enough? What do you say?
I don't know. I'm kind of opposed to parking it.
You're opposed to parking it? Okay. How about this? How about we do a quarter flip? Heads, we turn it up, and tails, we park it.
Be the most expensive coin flip ever bomb game. So I don't know if you guys know this, but he doesn't lose in coin flip. So
I say we do it. Is that a deal?
Deal.
Okay. Heads.
It's always faith. You got to worry about faith.
Heads, we turn it up. Oh, we have to turn it up. Okay, here you can see this was the 1,043 horsepower with the single S472, and then this was with the compound turbos where it did 1,146. So I did him a favor by not starting the run down at 2,300 RPM like we did on the single turbo, because I knew it was going to make a lot of torque, and I'm trying to not break it. But so I started this run closer to 2,900 RPM, and you see me peak power at 3,700 RPM. So now we're going to load the tune file called Bring a Bucket and see if it makes more horsepower. Okay, we ran it and it did 1,106 horsepower, which was less than before, but it hit all its set points, so it doesn't really make sense. But it does have a smaller air filter on here because of how tight this is. I'm going to just pull this air filter off even though it's new, just to make sure that it didn't try to suck it in, and we're going to run it again. And then we will see what kind of power it actually makes. Alright, so you can see this one is shorter, it's just a 6-inch filter, and I questioned, we can get a little bit longer one, they weren't in stock. So this is what we had for right now. So I'm going to see if that was actually holding us back on power or not. .1,198 horsepower is what we're going to call it good enough. That's 2,400 microseconds, and it's starting to pull rail a little bit at 3,800 RPM. But 3,500 RPM, it's still holding rail fine. I think that's pushing the bottom end enough that the way it is. I'm going to pull it off the dyno, and he's going to put a set of radials on it and go make some passes on it once spring hits and see if the engine actually can hold together through a couple 8-mile passes before we tell people that the 2019 engines can hold 1200 horsepower. Because a rep like this on the dyno, we're starting to run at 26 to 2700 RPM and sweeping it through to 4000 RPM. Does not see the torque load and the pressure spikes that it does going through the shift point, sucking the RPMs down at the drag strip. So we're going to call this a day, and we have successfully made 2 horsepower close to 1200 without breaking a stock engine.